UFC 301 Pantoja versus Erceg is this weekend. We've got your whole fight card breakdown coming up. We'll give you our thoughts on a little bit of the betting aspect of it as well, and just generally break down the fight, so stick around. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the 10-7 MMA. I'm DS, and I'm here with my guy, Dino Bam Bam.
What up, DS? How you feeling, bro?
I'm feeling good, man. It's nice to have another pay-per-view on the docket.
Hey,
last week's card was ass on paper, even worse potentially in real life. Would you agree?
It was fine. It was okay.
It was ass. You're being too nice, but in any case, we got a nice little card on the docket. UFC 301 this weekend. Pantoja versus Erceg. Kind of a random match, right? We didn't really expect, Erceg to just jump up. He has looked really good. I'm a fan. I know you like him too, and what he brings to the table. It's interesting, though. It almost seemed like after Muhammad Mokaev gave us a boring-ass performance versus Alex Perez, I would argue that Alex Perez is probably like near the top now than Muhammad Mokaev, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, the division's in a weird-ass place. I'm sure we're going to get to that later on, but Mokaev with a boring performance, Amir Albazi with the injury. We just had that fight right now with Perez, so he took somebody out of the rankings. Brandon Moreno's on the two-fight losing streak. Roy Vall just lost to Pantoja. We're in a weird place. So number 10, Steve Erceg. Shout out Astro Boy.
Let's get it. I think the thing is, you can see that he's got some legitimate skills, and in my opinion, he will stay at the top of this division. Before we get into this and the other fights on the docket, why don't you let them know where they can find us, what they should do, and all that, and so on.
All right, for sure. So if you guys are enjoying the channel or have previously enjoyed the channel, do us a favor, hit that little like and subscribe button. Look at the thing at the bottom, Dino. It says, please like and subscribe. So you guys should do that. You should also ring the bell. Dino, let them know what the bell sounds like.
Ah!
All right, okay. So we're working on a new bell. We're working on a new bell.
We got a swole-ass bell, bro.
That's it. So ring that bell. That's going to notify you when our videos drop. And then check this out. Follow us on IG and TikTok. We are now on TikTok. I said that last time. We gained absolutely 0 followers from me saying that. Guys. So, thanks, yeah, that's cool. I think we have like 3 followers on TikTok. You're one of them. And then, I think shout out Matt. He was the first person to follow us. So
let's go. And then, one of my businesses probably.
Right. So there's that going on. Look, I'm excited for this card. As you said, another pay-per-view. The countdown begins now. We're at 301. We are just 99 pay-per-views away from UFC 400. That shit should be fun. and then on another note, we are getting a themed card here, right? So you know how we feel about themed cards at the 10-7 MMA. We're not necessarily in love with them, but we got the Fala Galera card going on here. So yeah, let's do it.
Well, what's the Dino Bam Bam projection for when we can possibly expect UFC 400? You think 2028 type shit or what? What are you thinking?
No, 2030.
Damn.
Yeah.
Fuck. Well, hopefully Jim Miller's still fighting at that point.
I'm saying.
So, anyway, we've got it's a decent little card, like you said. It is a themed card, but we've got some bangers, and we started off with a legitimate banger, and in my opinion, one of the better fights as far as stylistically. Brojas, you said Kevin Brojas. Damn.
Oh man, I gotta fix that. Hold on, it's gonna bother me. Keep doing your thing.
What? Oh, okay. Yeah. So we got Alessandro Costa taking on Kevin Borjas. Obviously, the main event is at flyweight at 125. I like that this fight is another flyweight fight that's kicking off the card, and I expect it to be a good fight, man. I do want your take on it first, though.
All right, let's get it. So Alessandro Costa versus Kevin Brojas, as I had written. These are two dudes, who last fought at UFC 295. That was Yuri versus Poatan. And weirdly enough, Alessandro Costa took on the guy in the main event on this card, Steve Astro Boy Erceg. So Costa, he's a good striker. He throws hard. He's really crisp, but he is low output at times. I think he really has outlier power in the division. I said that last time out, and I still, I'm still rolling with it. He did lose to Steve Erceg via decision, which at this point, after Steve Erceg KO'd Matt Schnell, you know, it's not aging too poorly, man. It's not aging terribly. Before that, he got a TKO win over Jimmy the Brick Flick. His only losses since 2017. That's your boy. Shout out Jimmy Flick. His only losses since 2017, Dino, have come to the top of the division, right? Steve Erceg, Amir Albazi. Interested to see how Costa bounces back. On the other side, we got Kevin Borjas, kind of in the same boat. He lost to Joshua Van, a much younger.
You know what they say? You know what they say, though? The cream rises to the top, brother.
Is that what they say?
The cream rises to the top.
Put cream. Sometimes you got to put cream. Shout out that guy. But yeah, look, he lost to Josh Van last time out, for Kevin Borjas. Josh Van, not necessarily Amir Albazi or Steve Erceg, right? He's not a top 5 guy, but he's a kid that shows a ton of promise. Nothing to be ashamed of losing to that guy. Borjas is kind of basic on the feet, which isn't really a bad thing. He's clean, good combos, good technique. He's well-rounded, but we have seen him held down and not be able to get up. Not that I think that that's going to be a factor here with 2 strikers, but you mentioned last time out that he has like a weird chin physically. Like it's really
I already have that written down. I was gonna harp on it again, brother.
Yeah, like
he's got that like little like, man, he's got a soy chin, he's got like the soy shaped chin.
So I'm saying, I'd like to see Costa put that to the test. To me, this one's pretty simple. I think it's a very fun fight. I think Borjas is good, but I just don't think he was Joshua Van's level. And just like that fight, I just don't think he's Alessandro Costa's level. I'm taking Costa by decision. I think fireworks to start the night.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, man. Kevin Borjas, he hasn't had obviously the easiest time already, in the UFC. He fought a tough opponent in Josh Van. He did get an okay win. I think he was an underdog on that Contender Series win, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And then, obviously taking on another dangerous opponent on Alessandro Costa. But same thing with Costa, man. They threw him. It's so weird, like how they pick and choose, like what prospects they're giving who to and the routes that they give to some of these prospects. And sometimes you're like, oh, he's Brazilian, so they're doing it this way. But it seems like completely fucking random sometimes, right? Like, why did this dude fight Amir Albazi in his first fight? And then Jimmy the Brick Flick, another very solid guy. He got the win there impressively. And then fought Steve Erceg, and they obviously thought very highly of Steve Erceg off the bat. It's just interesting how there's really no rhyme or reason sometimes to how they bring these prospects on. But yeah, you pretty much said it, man. Costa has, to me, a big power advantage. The striking of Borjas, I just don't think he's going to be enough of a threat. I do think he'll land some shots. I just think the power difference, and if I do believe he's going to end up fighting for the most part off his back foot once Costa realizes that he's got a power advantage in this one. So yeah, for me, I think it's going to be a pretty close fight. I could even see a split decision. I think Kevin Borjas is actually not bad. More than anything, I'm not a huge fan of his defense, to be quite honest with you. I just think he's also more hittable than Costa. And yeah, like you said, Costa can be a little bit of low output, but I think once he realizes that he can land some shots, he'll turn it up. I could even see a knockout, but I'm gonna do the same thing as you. I'm gonna go decision for Alessandro Costa on this one.
All right. So for what it's worth, we are on the same page again, which I love when that happens for the first fight of the night. But I did want to touch on something. So you said, pause, Dino. Come on, man. We're adults here at D107 MMA. But listen, you were mentioning like weird matchup.
I'm scared now. I said I'm scared.
I'm not going to touch on too much. Don't worry about it. But look, you mentioned like weird matchups with prospects, and we were just talking about Joshua Van, a really young fighter in the division, a guy that's showing some promise. They've just matched him up to fight against Tatsuro Taira, an undefeated young guy. So I don't get that matchup at all.
I hate that.
I don't like it. Yeah, at all. I think
that
those guys apart, but I guess we're getting that. That should be fun as hell in the near future.
Fuck, that's a crazy matchup. I didn't even know about that, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, speaking of prospects and the way that they match them up, here's another interesting one. At 155, we've got Ismael Bonfim, the Brazilian. Obviously, him and his brother, were expected to take the promotion by storm. And then what happened? He does have that bad loss versus BSD. He got finished pretty easily. And then now who's he fighting? He's fighting Vince Pichel, a 41-year-old Vince Pichel, coming off a layoff of 2 years, I want to say. Is it that much?
2 years. 2 years, yep.
2 years. Last time out, lost. He fought another older dude. That fight was 2 years ago. That's crazy, bro.
Yeah,
that is crazy shit. Anyway, fought Mark Madsen, lost. You know, did okay, I guess, in that one. Last time he does have a win over Austin Hubbard, Jim Miller, but this was 2020, right? 2021, and now he's coming off a 2-year layoff. Listen, this is a weird matchmaking type situation again for me. Ismail Bonfim, you know, I still think he's really good. He's got great boxing, champion boxer, got a lot of power, fast hands. You know, maybe gets a little overzealous at times, but yeah, you know, it's a massive, massive drop in level of opponent and age of opponent. I mean, dude is literally like 20 years older than him. He's coming off a long layoff. He's been tough to finish, though. I will say that. You know, Vince Pichel, say what you will, man, but the dude does not get finished. I mean, truthfully, like if we're talking money line, I just don't see any possible way that Vince Pichel can win this fight. I think this is a gimme fight for Ismail Bonfim. The odds kind of tell you everything that you need to know here. I'm kind of surprised they're not higher, to be honest with you, but maybe it's a little bit of recency bias because he hasn't been quite what they thought he would be off the bat. But yeah, he's going to be more athletic, faster, probably stronger. He's going to have the better cardio. Yeah, I mean, I just don't see a single path to victory for Vince Pichel. There's really not a lot more to say to that, you know?
Yeah, fair. Look, Dino, the last fight for Vince Pichel right here, UFC 273. That's how long ago it was. We had Aldo versus Peter Yan going on. That was the drama in the MMA world.
Wow.
Look, there's two reasons that this fight's being made. Number one, to get the crowd hyped with a young Brazilian fighter taking on a foreign fighter and getting a win. So they always want that on these themed cards, right? They want their countrymen winning. And then the second thing is to get Ismail Bonfim and the Bonfim brothers in general back in like the UFC and MMA public's good graces again, right? It's to get their name going. Like when they did come on the scene in the UFC, they were big names, man. Right away, they had some star power. People were enjoying them. They looked fun as hell. But look, Vince from hell, Pichel, it is what it is, man. The age is a huge factor in this one. He's on the wrong side of 40. And yes, Ismail Bonfim got dominated last time out, but that was to Benoit Saint-Denis, man. Benoit Saint-Denis, say what you will about his loss against Dustin Poirier, but shit, Poirier is fighting for the title, and BSD is a real contender, and he will continue to be a real contender in the lightweight division for a long time. This is Ismail Bonfim all the way. I'm going Ismail Bonfim by knockout first round. I know Vince Pichel has been tough to finish, but I mean, he's 41, 42 years old coming off the couch after 2 years, so not a good look.
Yeah. I guess I didn't technically give you my method, but yeah, I agree with you. I do think it's going to be a late first round knockout as well.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Next fight on the docket, we've got Dion Barbosa. And she's taking on Ernesta Karakite. How do you fucking pronounce this name, bro?
Brother, this is not the one for me.
Karakite.
You're more European than I am.
He's taking on Ernesta Carrot Cake. All right.
Let's go.
They're going to fight it out. And what do you think about it?
All right. I think about it. I'll tell you that. All right. So we have Dion Barbosa. She's 6-2. Both of these ladies, by the way, coming to us from – no, actually, I'm sorry. Scratch that. Anyways, Dion Barbosa, 6-2.
Barbosa's not from –
she's not from it. Yeah, I know. That's why I stopped. So she's a grappler with decent striking skills. She comes from a judo background, good trip game, good speed and footwork for somebody who's not like a natural striker. She won her Contender Series fight pretty quickly via armbar. What?
That was a wild fight.
Yeah, it was crazy. You know, impressive considering she took that fight on short notice, Dino. Before that, she was 2-1 in the LFA. We know the LFA is about as good as it gets for these, second level promotions. She's taken on this other lady, Ernesta, and I'm not even going to try her last name. But Ernesta, her nickname is Heavy Handed. Okay. She's also a Contender Series alum. I was right. So these are two ladies coming to us from Dancing with the Stars. She's bringing an undefeated record with her to the UFC octagon. She's a striker. She has some.
I thought you were talking about her. That was a crazy fight. Ernesta's last fight.
Yeah, it was super sloppy. I like it. But look, she's heavy-handed, right? But her power to me isn't like the thing that sticks out about this girl. I mean, she's just like a solid striker. That's really all there is to it. She's not the best grappler in the world. Interested to see, I guess, what a 25-year-old looks like in the UFC. It's always interesting to see somebody young. I don't know how good either one of these ladies is. I don't think very highly of either one of them, to be honest with you. It's a striker versus a grappler with two unproven ladies. I have to side with the grappler at that point. So I'll go with Barbosa, but I'm pretty sold on both of these girls being nothing high level.
I fully agree with you on that. Yeah, and when you're talking lower level fights, especially, you know, there aren't a ton of women's fighters that will come into the sport and just dominate off the bat, right? So you got, you know, two relatively inexperienced fighters here. It's a classic striker versus grappler, like you said. For me, I got to go with Barbosa. She has a win, if I'm not mistaken, over Karolina Silva.
It's impressive.
At Katana Fight 9. Granted, it was in 2019, but still, man, I mean, that's pretty damn impressive. She was also able to take down Josiane Nunes in their fight, which Josiane Nunes is a little goddamn tank.
That was at Katana Fight 10, by the way.
That's true, yeah. So,
I was at both of those cards. It was really fun.
She was going ham. You were at Katana Fight 10?
Yeah.
Where was that at? That was
somewhere in Brazil, I forget.
You were chilling in Panais, Paraná, Brazil?
Yep.
It was good over there. How was that main event? Bruno Roverso versus Pedro Henrique.
Man, I left right before that, actually. So, yeah, it was good. You know, it was fine. Nice weather.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right, for sure, man.
Me and the shoot the box guys, we were out there.
Respect. That's exactly what I would expect you to be with. But, yeah, man, I'm going to go with Barbosa. You know, I'm not terribly confident, right? Like I said, basically grappler versus striker. I expect Barbosa to be able to get her down. Ernesta's pretty, you know, wily, and she can get a little crazy. So I don't think she'll be held down the whole time. I'm not super confident in this. I'm not betting this fight. For what it's worth, the last couple that we just discussed, Costa and Bonfim, I would absolutely be comfortable betting on either one of those guys as a parlay piece or whatever. This fight, I'm staying away from, but I'm going to go with Barbosa by decision.
I feel you. So same thing here. I'm interested to see your parlay video this week because I think there's some good spots on this card.
I agree. There are some good spots on this card.
Let's get it. Oh, and by the way, if you guys want to see Dino's parlay video, his little betting tips and tricks and all that, you know what you guys got to do? Like and subscribe. Ring the little bell. Do that. You know, it's not difficult. It's free. Do you like free, Dino?
I mean, it's better than not free. That's for sure.
That's what I'm trying to say. And look, I'm just saying, once we get to 1,000 subscribers, if Katana Fight is still going on,
you're buying it or what? Just
I'll buy you free tickets to Katana Fight for you and a friend. I won't fly you out there, but I'll buy you the ticket.
You could probably buy the promotion for like $450. I'm
saying, let's do it. Katana Fight 15 is about to go nuts. If you don't know, I'm excited as shit for that.
Is it already scheduled or not?
Well, not yet. Nothing's been released yet, but. We'll talk off air. I don't want to talk too much on air about it.
Yeah. No, for sure. All right, cool. Moving on. Next fight on the card, we've got Mauricio. Would it be Huffy then, like a bike?
That would be terrible. Ho! He's Ruffy, I think. Because if he's Huffy, that's really shitty. Because like you don't want to be Huff.
I know, but the Brazilians need to decide how they want me to pronounce ours, bro. Is it an H or is it an R?
And it's crazy because he's fighting against Jamie Mulhaki. Malachi, right? No R there. It's wild. I don't know what the hell is going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I'm not. This guy's okay. First of all, Mauricio Rufi. That sounds fucked up too, bro. He's coming from the Contender Series. He beat a guy with a last name ending in EV, and he ended up getting a really late finish in that one. Props to him. Listen, to me, I'm not a huge, you guys know I'm not a fan of Jamie Mullarkey, and I'm not super impressed by this Ruffy guy either, to be honest with you. He's been knocked out in 2 of his last 3 fights. I think that's what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm sorry.
Wait, who are you talking about? I'm sorry, I was zoned out.
No, it's all good, bro. I was talking about Jamie Mullarkey.
Yeah.
So Jamie Mullarkey hasn't looked good recently. Was knocked out by Nasrat Haqparast That wasn't that long ago. He beat John Makdessi, but John Makdessi is, you know, older and not all that special, obviously. I think Jamie Malarkey's kind of done, man. You know, I wasn't super impressed by Rufy on the Contender Series, but his opponent just kind of gassed out, and he just had a little bit more cardio, and he ended up getting the win. So it is what it is. I think this is just a low-level fight. I'm not spending my money on it. I guess I'm going to go with Ruffy, whatever the hell you want to call him, by decision. I think he'll land better shots, and Jamie Malarkey's chin is just not something that I can possibly trust at this point. Still, not that long ago, he has wins over, you know, Francisco Prado, Michael Johnson. So Jamie Malarkey's just one of those guys, man. You just never know what you're going to get. But is he that old even? He's not even that old, you know? It's just like, I just can't trust him, man. I never can trust him. And, of course, he'll probably get the win this week, though.
Right. Jamie Malarkey, absolutely one of the most frustrating fighters on the roster. He's kind of in that same vein as like Michael Johnson. Not as good as Michael Johnson, even though he beat Michael Johnson. But he's one of those guys, like you never know which version of him you're going to get. And really bad breaking news, Dino. I'm sorry to do this on air. But Katana Fight is no longer. It's out of business. Sorry, man. Anyways, look, Jamie Malarkey, like I said, he's
how do you know that?
I looked it up. I looked into it. 2019, unfortunately. But we'll buy you guys tickets to another shitty Brazilian show. It's fine. Just still do the like and follow and subscribing and all that. Malarkey, he's hit or miss, right? Like he's not a guy you want to bet on. Then you got this guy Rufy, you know, there's some hype behind him. He's got good boxing, big power, 9-1, all 9 wins by finish. His cardio seems okay. He's not one of those guys that looks like he's going to gas out. Dino, plus 140 dog on Jamie Malarkey here, right? The reality of the situation is that we don't know enough about this Ruffy guy. I kind of expect him to win this fight. He does have the power. Malarkey loves to get knocked out. His chin is super sus, but we just don't know. So if we're talking about betting, I'm not betting minus 165 on a guy I know nothing about versus a guy who has shown that he can win fights in the UFC, even though he can lose some fights that he should win. So I'm going with the fucking eyebrows, man. I'll go with Jamie Malarkey one last fucking time. If he screws me over here, it's over. But plus 140 on a UFC veteran. Plus, this guy Ruffy's taking on like his toughest competition to date, right? It's a huge step up. So give me fucking Jamie Malarkey. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable saying that, but give me Jamie Malarkey.
Yeah, there's really no outliers as far as, you know, height, weight, reach, anything like that. They're pretty similar in that regard. No, I feel you, man. How many times do we see a guy come in who doesn't look, especially guys that don't look super impressive on the regional scene,
right?
And then come in and fight a UFC veteran, and it's like, oh shit, there's levels to this, you know. Right. Even like a mid to low UFC veteran, you know, that certainly could be the case here. Jamie Malarkey is just one of those guys where I'm just not a big fan, man.
I get it, dude. Trust me.
But yeah, again, like you said, certainly not fucking betting this one. All right, moving on. Next fight, we've got Joaquim Silva, and he's taking on Drakkar Klose at 155. It's a pretty good fight. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, definitely a decent little scrap here. Silva, man, he's a jiu-jitsu fighter, but he does have good speed and power on the feet. When he's striking, Dino, I like his style. He's headhunting. I mean, I don't know if it's technically the best thing to do, but it's fun as shit to watch. He throws everything with, like, ending the fight in his intentions. That's what he's trying to do. If you recall, he had Arman Tsarukyan in some serious-ass trouble in the first round of their fight, which is really interesting, right? Like, it's impressive to do that to Arman Tsarukyan, especially considering where Arman Tsarukyan's at this point in time. Last time out, this guy beat Chicago's own Clay Guida. Shout out to Carpenter Clay Guida. That's a nice win for your resume. He's taking on Drakkar Klose. We know Drakkar Klose's deal at this point. He's a wrestler. He's a grappler. He's one of those guys that started kind of falling in love with his hands. And for decent reason. He's got nice boxing, good power, good speed. There's nothing about Drakkar Klose that sticks out like in a bad way, right? There's no really like negative things to knock him about. He's coming off a win against a veteran in his own right, and Joe Selecki. Drakkar Klose probably best known for the Beneil Dariush comeback and knockout with the Anik and Joe Rogan and DC going crazy on the table, which is wild. It's crazy to me that you have a guy that's like a UFC veteran. You know, you go in the UFC and you have like 10, 15, 20 fights, whatever it is, and then your moment is always just going to be like a shitty moment of you losing. Like
Yeah.
it's wild how sometimes that's the case. I don't love the odds here. I don't really get them either. I get that Close is supposed to be the more well-rounded fighter, but if you look on Tapology, 89% of people are picking Drakkar Close. This fight is way, way too close for that to be the case. Pardon the pun, but 89-11 is absolutely fucking nuts. So I'm gonna just go against the grain again, man. I don't see minus 190, so I'll take the plus 160 in Joaquim Silva. He's younger. He's got the hometown fans, and I don't see anywhere besides pure wrestling where Drakkar Close is the better fighter. And if he does take down Joaquim Silva, Silva's got the jiu-jitsu to do things, man. He's the better player. So I'm going to do some wild shit. I'm going Silva by KO. I bet there's big odds on that, and I'm sprinkling, brother. I'm sprinkling.
Sprinkle away, my friend. Yeah, listen, I was a big fan of Drakkar Close, early in his UFC career, and then, some weird things happened and some bad losses on the record. But it was really just the Beneil Dariush, knockout, and then I think he had a concussion after that. He did have a loss to David Tamer, which that was, whatever. But he's got wins with Bob.
That's my first cousin's son.
Yeah.
That's his godfather. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, man, I was pretty high on Drakkar Close, and his first fight back was versus was it Brandon Jenkins, which he looked okay in that fight. I don't know. I always feel like I want more out of Drakkar Close. Whenever I watch him fight, I'm like, this guy's so damn dangerous. He's got like the look too, right? Like he's got a badass name. Let's be honest. Like Drakkar Close is one of the sickest names I've ever heard in my entire life for a fighter. Then versus Rafa Garcia, he actually looked pretty good, and then looked super impressive versus Joe Selecki. Obviously slammed absolute dog shit out of him for a knockout in the first round. I just think on the feet he's going to be better, man. I just think he'll be a little bit faster, quicker to the punch, and I think he's actually going to get a first-round knockout, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be – I think either one of these guys gets a first-round knockout, to be honest with you, and I do think it should be a little bit closer on the odds too.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think we see a tough decision, basically. Yeah. I think that's essentially how I see it going. If it does go to the ground, you're right. I think Drakkar Close, I don't see him like shooting a ton of takedowns here. He might shoot one to get Joaquim Silva thinking about it. I don't really see him just punishing, and keep shooting takedowns here. Like you said, do you really want to be on the ground with somebody who's definitely going to be the better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu player than you? That just wouldn't make a lot of sense. And also, I just think he wants to bang, to be quite honest with you. So I get where you're coming from. I do think it's closer than the odds show. But I've been impressed by Drakkar Close, and I think he's like officially here as maybe the best version of him that we've seen.
And that's fair. And what's weird to me, Dino, is seeing the 89-11 is kind of weird, because I thought that as a community, the MMA fans were kind of out on Drakkar Close, and then especially
I thought so too.
And especially because he had like that weird incident. I don't remember who it was with, if it was Jeremy Stevens or if it was somebody else, but somebody shoved him at like the face-offs before a fight. And then he like, said that he was like concussed or like injured his neck or some shit, and like pulled out of the fight and was trying to like just do some weird shit about that. And he stayed on the shelf for a while. I didn't really like that. But anyways, Drakkar Close, little side note, he's married to UFC veteran Courtney Casey. So this should be a fun fight.
Is he really? I had no idea. Good to know, I guess. Good for them.
Let's get it.
All right. Next fight on the card. And this is an interesting fight, man.
Big time.
Talk about Gene Silva versus William Gomes. So we got a Brazilian at 145 taking on a Frenchman. First of all, props to William Gomes being one of the few Frenchmen that are actually willing to step out of their own country for a fight in the UFC, which is always nice to see. Is it me or you first on this one?
This is you, brother.
All right. So, dude, Gene Silva, last time out we saw him versus Weston Wilson. Last time you talked about people that you forgot were actually still in the UFC, Weston Wilson, one of those guys for sure. Good on him, karate specialist, whatever you want to call him. Not a particularly impressive MMA fighter overall, not somebody who even looks tough, unfortunately for him. And Gene Silva was just like flexing on him and shit, and just like beating on him and like, I don't know, doing some crazy shit. Gene Silva is a little bit, he's got a couple screws loose. He might be a few what do they say? A few scoops short of a fucking Sunday or whatever the fuck they say.
A few McNuggets short of a Happy Meal, right?
There you go. And he's taking out William Gomez, man. William Gomez, you know, high level. He's a Frenchman, right? He's a Frenchman. So what does he fight like?
Yeah, he's like Muay Thai guy. He's gonna stay at range, pick at you a little bit.
On just like straight up European kickboxing, you know. So yeah, he wants to stay at range. He wants to pick at you. There is a pretty sizable height advantage here, right? Gene Silva is only 5'7", which did he feel that short to you? I didn't.
No, brother,
he felt, yeah. I don't know. I guess I didn't feel like he was that short. Maybe it was all the posturing and shit that he was doing. He's also got a 4-inch reach disadvantage. Man, this has the potential to be like a fun fight, right? I'm not super trusting of the chin of Gene Silva here. Gomez is 3-0 in the UFC, right? But there hasn't been a single fight where he's actually impressed me on the feet, even, or certainly nowhere else, right? So I think this also has the potential to be a very boring fight. I could see Gomez just kind of picking at him from a distance. Maybe Silva trying to be aggressive, but getting caught here and there, and maybe slowing down on that. I think that is Silva's best weight or best highest potential to win this fight, though, is to go in guns blazing and hope that he catches William Gomez. I just think that there's a big technical disadvantage for Gene Silva. And I think he's kind of a one-trick pony. I just think he just kind of does that, yells a little bit, postures and taunts and shit. I don't think he's particularly skilled. And William Gomez, doesn't have like the most power, but say what you will, he is a good kickboxer. I don't see this fight really going to the ground too much or anything like that. So I'm going to say William Gomez by decision. Just like I said, picks at him from a distance. And I'm certainly not betting this fight. I'll tell you that.
I feel you. And look, I agree with like 99% of what you said. I think this fight has the potential to be really fun. I think it has the potential to be really damn boring. Look, as far as the height, to me, like the height discrepancy is huge here. I know you just mentioned that Gene Silva is a short guy, but he didn't seem that short to you. It is probably because like the swagger he walks around with, right? Dude's walking around, yeah, he's walking around like he's like 30 feet tall and shit, but he is a short guy. William Gomez, a sizable reach advantage, sizable height advantage. And with his style, I just feel like he's going to kind of pick Gene Silva apart at range. You said it correctly. I think Gene Silva's best chance here is to just go in guns blazing, make this a dirty, scrappy-ass fight. He's going to have to find his way into boxing range, which is going to be really tough to do here. The way I see this fight playing out is I think Gomez just kind of picks at him from range for like 2 rounds. He's just kind of getting the best of it. He's clearly up 2 rounds, and then Silva knows he has to go for broke to get a finish here, especially in front of a home crowd. And, and he's a nut job, so he will go for it. And I think when he goes for it, he leaves something exposed, and Gomez, finds the chin and knocks him out. So I'm going TKO late in this fight for Gomez, 3rd round. We'll see how it plays out. It's definitely an interesting one on paper, and like a huge clash of styles again, which is like a theme of this card.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that's kind of what happens when you have a lot of Brazilian fighters on the card to begin with. So, anyway, next fight of the night, we've got Elves Brener. He's taking on Myktybek Orolbai. I love that last name, Orolbai. Sounds sick as fuck.
I like the first name.
Like, get some oral and then say bye, bitch.
Peace.
She Myktybek. She make on my Tibek until I oral by.
That's it. Something like that. We're getting there.
Huh?
I said we're getting there. But
yeah,
hey,
that ass like that
type shit, right? Hey, that ass though, I do love this fight, man. I mean, obviously, Elves Brener, a huge my boy. Fala Galera, Fala Familia, all that. Shout out Shoot the Box.
All that.
I want all that. But look, this is a fight with 2 dudes right outside the rankings, in my opinion. 2 guys that are serious-ass fighters and contenders in this division. We'll start with Elves Brener. 3-0 in the UFC. All 3 times he was a dog and he won his fight. Let's see if that trend continues. He is a dog in this fight, right? He's a super fun fighter. Back-to-back knockouts. But, of course, like I said, he is a shoot-the-box guy. So, on top of that Muay Thai, we know that they'll do all that shit, but they're really jiu-jitsu guys at the core. We'll see what happens. And then we got Myktybek Orolbai. He's from Kyrgyzstan, man. Somehow this dude is 26 years old. He is several years younger than both of us. He doesn't look like he's just like older than us by a couple of years. He looks like he's from like 7 fucking centuries ago. Like he looks like a dude out of like history. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I read it. One of the comments I read on Instagram when I was watching film and shit was like, it's like he's 28. It's 28 years old since he thawed out of the fucking like a glacier that they found him in.
I'm saying, dude, this guy is from like a long fucking time ago. But anyways, he came.
Bro, looks like not fully evolved.
I'm saying, but you know, his fight game's fucking evolved. He came through the UFC last time out. He beat Uroš, who we just saw last week. He beat him pretty fucking handedly. Before that, he had a highlight reel knockout of Hayward Charles in the LFA. He's a scary fighter, man. He's well-rounded. It was super damn violent. He's well-rounded. He does have good striking, but as the name and where he's from and the look, it would fucking tell you, he is a grappler at heart. He wants to wrestle, but he is willing to brawl, and we've seen him get hit, and he is a little hittable, right? His only loss in his career was because he wasn't able to implement his like wrestling first approach on the guy. So, you know, that's I guess that's the route to beating this guy. Stuff a couple takedowns, and then he's not the most technical guy on the feet. I think both of these guys are super live at literally any moment in this fight to knock the other one out cold. There's real power on both sides. I think this fight probably gets to the ground at some point. And then it's wrestling versus jiu-jitsu. I'm kind of leaning Myktybek Orolbai, but you know I can't do that. So I refuse to pick against Elvis Brener. That's an absolute my boy. So I'm picking Elvis Brener from Diego Lima's Shoot the Box. I'm going KO. Shout out those guys for reposting me on Instagram, though. That was really sick. Fala Familia and all that.
They did, didn't they? Yeah, man, you pretty much broke it down. You know, I also just want to point out Myktybek Orolbai hasn't fought like the craziest level of competition, right? Mm-hmm. The brutal knockout that we were talking about versus Hayward Charles. Hayward Charles is fucking 18-14.
Didn't that guy play in the NBA? Gordon Hayward? No, Hayward. It sounds like an NBA name, doesn't it? Hayward Charles.
Hayward Charles sounds like
from like fucking Louisville.
Then he fought a dude named Glazio. You know what I mean? Like the glazing is crazy. So then he fought like fake ass Jalen Turner, Jalen Fuller,
and then he fought the Rizzler and like the Gyat Man and shit like that. It was wild.
Yo, some of these names are crazy though. There's a guy named Mushrap John.
That's a sick ass name.
Mushrap John, and then there's a guy with the last name Ulu, and he just happened to retire. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is, you know, not the highest level of competition. He neck cranked Uroš, who is fairly, you know, one-dimensional, unfortunately. He's got a crazy look, and obviously guys from the Caucasus region where he's from, you know, they end up doing pretty good, right? In the UFC and in MMA in general. The wrestling is probably going to be better, right? I do actually expect Elvis Brener to have more power, to be honest with you, and obviously to be the much more technical striker. Elvis Brener is my boy too, bro. You know that. But it's not even just because of that. I do think that the power and the technical skill advantage will be legit. I don't think Orolbai will just be able to hold him down because of that jiu-jitsu edge. So, you know, maybe he's the more physically strong guy on the ground, but I just don't see him really controlling Elvis Brener. I'm going to go with Elvis Brener, man. I'm going to go by TKO in the second round. I think eventually he ends up dropping him. I could actually see Elvis Brener getting a submission as well in this one. So I think both guys are definitely finishers. Both guys can get either a knockout or a submission, in my opinion. But I'm going to go Elvis Brener by second round knockout in what should be a fun fight, man. And again, why are these guys fighting each other? These guys are both high-level prospects. You couldn't have found somebody else for them to fight. But I guess for as long as it lasts, it'll be a good fight.
And I think whoever wins this fight, I think they're looking at a ranked opponent next for sure. This should be fireworks, dude. And by the way, I looked up his gym, and he fights out of Kyrgyz Ulu gym, and there's like 57 guys named Ulu in that gym. So very common name.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Is it like how they do it in Thailand, where they like take their gym's name and shit,
like Fairtex and shit? With like, I'm down.
Yeah. Is that wild?
Yeah. Hey, shout out Sanibel. I'm looking for a deal. I'll be Dino Sanibel if they want me to. If they pay in the big bucks.
Dino Fairtex sounds kind of lit, though. To be honest with you,
I'm about that action.
type shit.
I'm gonna hit up Energy, bro. He's got the connections out there in Thailand. I'm just saying.
Okay, how about this?
How about this? Deal.
How about this? If we hit, it has to be something slightly like unrealistic. If we hit 5,000 subscribers,
okay,
by the end of the year, me and you have to go to Thailand next year,
okay,
and train in Muay Thai for like 2 weeks minimum.
I'm fine.
All right. So if anybody happens to
I'm
see
not
this,
fighting anybody. I'll spar, but I don't want to fight right now. I'm not.
No, it'll be 2 weeks of training Muay Thai, and then me and you will spar.
Okay, that's fine.
Fire.
Let's go.
Fire. All right. Anyway, moving on, and after that banger of a fight, right? We move on to, and you know what? This is not a bad fight. This is not a bad women's fight. We've got Karolina Kowalkiewicz. She's taking on Iasmin Lucindo. I actually don't mind this fight, man. I really don't. Karolina Kowalkiewicz has had a little bit of like a mid to late career. What would you call it? Like a second win?
Yeah.
Huh?
Like a revival or like
yeah, something like that. You know.
Like a redemption arc.
Pardon me?
A redemption arc?
I wouldn't go that far.
I'd go.
I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go all that far, but yeah, I mean, shit. She's put together 4 wins in a row. It started at a fight night versus Felice Herrig, your girl. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Shout out before that though, she had an absolute murderer's row. Okay, I just want to read you just the losses that she had in a row. She had 5 losses in a row. It was to Jessica Andrade, and then the Karate Hottie, and then Alexa Grasso, and then Yan Jianan, and then Jessica Penne. So, you know, pretty high level fights there that she's stringing together losses for, and then beat, you know, some much lower level fighters. Beat Diana Belbita last time out, and she is a big underdog here. She's taking on Iasmin Lucindo. Lucindo, her ground game looked really good in her last fight. Was it versus Polyana Viana?
Sorry, I was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Polyana Viana. Before that, Brogan Walker's ass. So, like, you know, that fight really didn't tell me anything necessarily. But got the submission win versus Polyana Viana, who was actually pretty damn good. I don't mind her as a fighter. Also, she's really stepped up her social media game. She'd be having me rolling sometimes on her social media. Anyway, Kowalkiewicz, I think she's going to want this to stay on the feet. I know she has some finishes of her own. On the ground, I know she had a rear. I'm sorry. Yeah, she had a rear naked choke versus your girl Felice Herrig. So, you know, but we can't really compare the jiu-jitsu here. I think there's a big disadvantage for Kowalkiewicz. I think she's going to want to try to keep it on the feet, and that's for me really the only way that she can win this fight. She doesn't have a ton of power. She's got to just try to land some shots, land the better shots, and which is kind of what she's done in her last few fights, but. Man, I don't really see it happening. Lucindo has some decent power of her own. I think she'll actually be the physically stronger fighter, and she has more ways to win. So for me, I'm going to take Lucindo by submission here. I think there's just a pretty sizable jiu-jitsu and ground game advantage here. I'm going to say late in the first round. So, the odds, by the way, minus 350. I don't know. Do those seem a little bit like wide for you or no?
Yeah, I think the odds are fucking ludicrous. Shout out Luda. Yeah, look, I expect Iasmin Lucindo to win this fight, right? I get it, but again, the odds are way too far apart for somebody so damn young in the UFC. And for what it's worth, like Karolina Kowalkiewicz, man, she's beat better women than Iasmin Lucindo right now. You know what I mean? Like she's had fights against women that were in their primes that are better than a 22-year-old Iasmin Lucindo is all I'm trying to say. I know she's older, but she's been pretty damn hot. I'm not super comfortable with this one, Dino, just because if Lucindo can't get this to the ground, I feel like she's going to be in a little bit of trouble. We saw that in her UFC debut. I expect her to be able to get this to the ground. But if it stays on the feet, I would not be shocked at all if a kickboxer the level of Karolina Kowalkiewicz, who in this, midlife fucking recovery or comeback or whatever the fuck we're calling it. If she's taking shit serious, she's training her ass off, and she looks like she's trying to give it one last run, man. And Yes, the UFC wants Lucindo to win this to get in the rankings, but you can't count out Karolina Kowalkiewicz. If it stays on the feet, it gets ugly for Lucindo, but I will take Iasmin Lucindo here. I'll trust her because she does look like she will be special. But again, I would not be surprised in the least if we get a Karolina Kowalkiewicz decision win here.
Would you give both of them a little kiss on the forehead if you could?
Yeah, they both look like lovely, charming ladies.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's real nice. All right. That was weird. Smart. Moving on. Next fight of the night, we've got Joanderson Brito. He's taking on Jack Shore. Man, this is a fucking banger. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, man, another fun fight. That's why I wasn't kind of like shitting on this card. You know, like a lot of people I feel like are kind of overlooking this card.
But no, it's really not bad.
Yeah, it doesn't have the name value of UFC 300, which we knew it wouldn't, and it never could live up to that. But it's a pretty good card. The main card, a little light, but I like the prelims, and I like this fight. Joanderson Brito, a super, super fun fighter, man, and only 29 years old. Another one of those guys that looks older than he is. A great grappler.
No question.
Absolutely. A great grappler, great sub skills. That's his main thing, right? But on the feet, he's an absolute fucking wild man. He's a risk taker. He's throwing bombs all the time. He's super fucking fun to watch. Last time out, he beat JSP. JSP, I don't know what to make of that guy, but that was a story for last week. Anyways, he's taking on Jack Shore. Jack Shore, well-rounded, high-pressure fighter, good kicks, some decent grappling himself. The record, while super damn impressive at 17-1, like upon a deeper dive, looks a little less impressive, right? He's 17-1, but who's his best win? Timur Valiev? Hunter Azure? Like, those are the guys he's beating. Ludwig.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Huh?
Who's Joanderson Brito's best win?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look into it, but
I mean, JSP.
I mean, decent win, right? But last time out, Jack Shore, or not last time out, his only loss was to Ricky Simone. Now, Ricky Simone, I think a better fighter than Joanderson Brito for sure. A guy that's, consistently in the rankings. But, he lost that fight, right? So that's kind of the best competition. I think this will be the second best guy he's ever fought in Joanderson Brito. I'm going to stick with Brito. I think maybe Jack Shore can prove me wrong, that he definitely has a chance in this one. And then we would have a new fun contender in the division to join the rankings. But I think Brito's so damn dangerous. And I expect him at his most dangerous in front of his home crowd, in front of a crowd that's going to be filling in the arena, because this is the prelim finale, right? It's the main event of the prelims. The crowd will be in there. It'll be fucking wild. I think this fight can be fireworks as well.
Yeah, man, you pretty much broke it down, dude. It's I'm having a hard time with this one, quite frankly, because Joanderson Brito gonna have the power advantage. Is he the most technical striker? Absolutely not. He be swinging that thing though.
Yeah, come on.
So Jack Shore last time out, got a nice win versus Makwan Amirkhani. But fuck, man, I really see this fight going one of two ways, right? I either see Joanderson Brito getting a knockout in the first round, personally, or because here's my thing: if this goes past like the halfway point, I could see a world where Joanderson Brito tires himself to shit out. He doesn't have the best cardio. We've seen that in the past, and he has a lot of hype behind him right now. But again, it wasn't like the highest level of competition, right? Jack Shore is pretty good, man. Pretty good. And he's got good wrestling and he's got good grappling in his own right, too. So for me, it's tough, right? Because I could absolutely see a world where Brito tires out and Jack Shore just kind of wears him down for the last half of the fight and wins by decision. So I don't mind the plus 140 odds here for Jack Shore. And if I'm going to bet on him, I would bet by decision, obviously. And I think the odds on that are pretty good. This is a tough one, man. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go with Jack Shore, right? I think he ends up tiring Joanderson Brito out, but this is not one I would parlay piece. I would just sprinkle on Jack Shore on its own because I think I like the odds on that. I think he's very live, but Joanderson Brito, super dangerous for submission, super dangerous from a power standpoint. I just think the cardio is going to be an issue in this one.
And that's fair, but you asked me the question of who Joanderson Brito's best wins are. I'm going to go over it. So in the UFC, it's Andre Fili. Absolutely, right? Andre Touchy Fili, a hell of a fighter. Pre-UFC, he beat Diego Lopez on the Contender Series, and he has a brutal knockout, which I forgot about, over Chepe Mariscal. So,
oh my God, he does. Yeah,
some good fucking fighters there, man. And that's kind of like the point.
And you know what? Yeah, I can't do it, man. Jack Shore is just a little too soy in terms of his fighting style.
You just changed it up real quick. That's
all, bro. I don't think he's got like the balls, you know, at the end of the day. Because I forgot about the Feely fight. To be quite honest with you, I knew that he had a win over Diego Lopez too. But you're right, man. That's a decent level of competition, even pre-UFC.
Yeah.
So it's a close one, man. It's 50-50, basically, is what I'm trying to tell you. But for a while, I swayed myself and convinced myself because of the cardio aspect. But now you got me tripping, and I'm thinking like Jack Shore's probably going to get knocked out. It's going to be a fun fight either way.
Let's get it.
Moving on, and this is
the main card opener.
Yeah, main card opener. I was just looking, but this is a fucking great fight. I'm talking about Paul Craig. He's taking on Caio Borralho, and man, I really like both these guys, dude. I forgot about this fight on this card, to be honest with you. Yeah, Paul Craig, interesting guy, you know. Obviously, very tough-ass son of a bitch. He's taking on Caio Borralho, who, like, their personalities are so different, right? This Scotsman with this deep-ass voice who's just, like, this manly-ass dude with the beard. And then you got Caio Borralho, who literally fights for, you know, fighting nerd. Yeah, exactly. And he's got his little glasses and shit. But don't get it twisted, man. Both these guys are tough as hell. Interestingly enough, to me, this is like a jiu-jitsu guy versus, I guess, a more well-rounded guy who also has pretty good jiu-jitsu. But it's like you don't expect – like I feel like Paul Craig is the guy here who's really known for his submissions more than Caio Borralho, right?
Yeah.
So this is an interesting one, man. I feel like people are counting Paul Craig out a little bit too much. But, yeah, I just think Caio's the real deal. Really showed that he can go a good distance fight too versus a dangerous opponent. Abbas last time out. I just really like his style overall. I think he can absolutely hold his own. And Paul Craig, let's be honest, man. I mean, there are times when he randomly lands with power, but there's really only one thing that he does, right? It's his devastating submissions, arm bars, and chokes and shit like that. And he'll pull them out of nowhere. But somebody like Caio Borralho, man, like this shit is second nature to him. It's in Brazil. So I guess in a way I do understand the odds. I just don't think they should be quite this hot. It's quite this distant, right? But this is a good fight because it's a very winnable fight for me for Caio and somebody who seems to be a fan favorite in general. So I think the UFC is kind of setting him up for a very winnable fight in the rankings, let's say, right? Versus somebody who is dangerous on the ground, but I just think Caio's more well-rounded. I'm going to go Caio by decision in this one.
All right. So to me, you know, this whole main card, it's like to me, it's pretty damn simple. The whole main card, right? And sticking with the theme of this card, it's kind of weird fucking matchups that don't really make sense, like clashing styles and shit like that. Everything seems so simple, but usually that's where fuck ups will happen, right? And speaking of fuck ups, how does Paul Craig win? He gets people to fuck up. And that's not like shade towards Paul Craig. It's actually a compliment. I mean, he has wins over Magomed Ankalaev and Jamal Hill, right? I think he beat Nikita Krylov. Like, there's a bunch of guys that he's beaten in the UFC that are top-level guys that are better fighters than him, but he's so goddamn dangerous with the jiu-jitsu that if you make one little mistake, it will be the end of your night. Not it could be. It damn near will be. Caio Borralho, like you said, he's the better fighter on the feet. He's not light years behind Paul Craig in the jiu-jitsu. He is worse than him, but it's not by too damn much. I expect Caio Borralho to keep this fight on the feet. I don't think Paul Craig's takedowns are going to be something that's going to work for him in this fight. So Caio is the pick, but I will never in my life bet against Paul Craig. And on a little bit of a side note, Caio Borralho undefeated in the UFC, and I'm a big fan of his, but I don't necessarily think he's as good as some people may think he is, nor do I think he's as good as I thought he was at some point. He's looked a little bit shaky for me. And this is someone sitting on their ass at home watching, you know, this undefeated guy in the fucking UFC. But I don't think he's necessarily as good as some people may think he is, but I do expect him to win this fight.
Yeah. I just think he'll outlast Paul Craig. But
yeah, you're right.
Paul Craig, always dangerous though, man. Always dangerous. And I think I kind of like him at 185 too, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
So, next fight on the card, and another fun fight, man. This is like you said, may not have the name value, but some interesting and fun style matchups here. And of course, I'm talking about Michel Pereira. He's taking on Ihor Potieria at 185. Bam Bam, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, absolutely a fun fight, right? Like for the casual fan, you're going to see the name Michel Pereira, and you're going to be like, hell yeah, this guy's fucking nuts. He's got the capoeira style and flips and all this crazy shit. And then if you don't know, Ihor Potieria, a guy who puts his fucking balls on the table every time he fights, right? He may not be the best fighter on the planet, but the dude is willing to go get it. And poor Ihor Potieria. He was previously booked to fight Shara Bullet, and then they took him off that card, and they're like, you know what? Instead of us throwing you to Abu Dhabi to the fucking Wolves, we're going to take you, throw your ass in Rio to the Wolves. That's basically what they're doing to the guy here. Fighting Michel Pereira on short-ish notice. Again, no shade towards Ihor Potieria, who's a guy I actually really like, but there isn't too many people, Dino, on the planet at this point that I'm picking against, or that I'm picking versus Michel Pereira. I know that sounds crazy. He's not the best fighter on the planet, but I've been so fucking impressed with the way this guy's been fighting. He looks like an absolute unit. He's a demon. He's fixed his cardio a little bit. This fight is screaming first-round knockout to me, so that's what I'm picking. I'm picking Michel Pereira first-round knockout. If somehow, like, we get to the second or, God forbid, the third round of this fight, both of these guys known for having shit cardio, it can be one of the sloppiest fights we've ever seen. But, yeah, I think Michel Pereira gets out of there in the first round.
Man, I'm surprised. I'm really surprised by that pick from you.
What can I say?
I don't know. I just didn't expect that going that way. But, yeah, listen, Potieria, what I did notice in his last fight is that he did seem a little bit more, kind of thought out and whatnot. He didn't seem quite as just gunning for shit and just pushing the pace. Kind of like how we've seen Michel Pereira adjust in his career. But listen, man, I think he's gotten kind of lucky in certain situations, right? And like with certain matchups thus far. But I will say Ihor Potieria, better than I thought he was. I'm just, who the hell is Robert Brito, right? I mean, I'm not like super high on him.
He beat like the ghost of Mauricio Shogun Hua.
Oh, I think that's why I didn't like him to begin with. Is just because
that turned everybody off.
What the fuck? Yeah, and what a terrible way to bring in a prospect too, if you really think about that.
And what are they doing? What are they doing here? 2 years later, they're taking his ass. Or I'm sorry, 1 year. 1.5 years later, they're taking his ass back to Brazil. We're getting our fucking lick back on you.
Yeah,
that's what this is.
Basically, yeah. I mean, yeah. Like I said, Brishek didn't look great. Pereira, he's this is going to be a totally different fight for him. This is a massive step up. Pereira's going to be in his face. He's going to be talking shit. He's going to be doing weird, fucking crazy shit. He slowed down on that a little bit, but he still throws with power, man. And Potieria, he gets hit, right? He gets hit. So if you're knocked out by Ulberg, Bellato, I think the same kind of thing's going to happen here. I think he gets knocked out in the second round. I think he makes it through one, eats some shots in that one too, maybe even gets stumbled, but by round two gets knocked out.
Yeah, and I mean, I see it the same way. I see Michel Pereira by knockout. Yeah.
All right, let's get it. And we've got 3 fights left. So third to last fight of the night. This is a fucking wild matchup. This is an absolutely wild matchup to me. I'm talking about Anthony Smith. He's taking on Vitor Petrino. Yo, how are the odds what they are on this? Do you agree with these odds?
I don't love them, but I get where they're coming from. Like, I understand there's like a little bit of like a deeper dive. It has to do with Anthony Smith being fucking like Delulu, as you like to say. Like,
he is Delulu. He's out of his mind. He's absolutely lost his mind. I genuinely think like he's got some like shit going on. Maybe it could be CTE or whatever. But holy fuck, dude. Minus 485 fighting the number 10 guy in the division, who, by the way, like, it wasn't that. I mean, he's 37-19, right? So he does lose a lot. Got fucked up by Khalil Roundtree like 5 months ago, so it hasn't been that long. I don't love that for him. And now you're taking on a guy who's absolutely for sure juicing, or at least at some point was juicing, is absolutely jacked out of his mind, and is low-key a decent wrestler because he's so goddamn strong too, which many Brazilian fighters are not, and he's got some submission. So, but more than anything, this guy has violent power, and you were just knocked out. You were just knocked out. And then if you take into consideration, I guess for Anthony Smith too, like his last win was versus Ryan Spann. What the fuck is Ryan Spann done? Ryan Spann was really a flash in the pan. Unfortunately, is kind of what we're coming to realize. That rhyme, so take that to the bank with you. Weird fight versus Johnny Walker, right? Lost on Goliath. I mean, I get it. I get it. You know, Anthony Smith hasn't looked great. He's what now, 35, 36 years old? Is he 35?
I think he's older than that, to be honest with you.
Is he really?
They have him at 35.
35, yeah. So, yeah, I get it, man. He's taking on a really, really dangerous opponent, but Vitor Petrino is also pretty hittable. Now, what kind of power is Anthony Smith going to throw back? I don't know. But, God, I mean, I think there's a fucking big-ass spider, dude. Anyway, sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, there could be a world where we just see Anthony Smith turn the clock back and just do some, like, weird shit, veteran shit, right? Where, you know, just keeps Petrino at a distance, land some shots. But I just don't see it either. I do think he'll get knocked out. I think he'll get knocked out probably at the end of the first round, but the odds are just fucking crazy to me on that one, man. I couldn't believe when I saw that. I saw him as high as like 550, minus 550 originally.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. It is a little bit crazy.
This motherfucker straight repelled, fucking Mission Impossible style.
Yeah, they be coming down quick too and shit. It's wild.
Yo, I've killed for like 4, like 1 a day I kill now. But this one was a little small green one. But I'm talking about like big dumbass black ones. And I'm like, yo, bro, like y'all can't just do it every day. But now I'm starting to feel bad. Like I want to keep killing them. But
get a cat.
I also don't want them like crawling in my ass or something like that, you know?
Hey, I feel you. I agree with you, Dino, for the most part with the thing that the spiders in the ass. I don't want that either. But but seriously, like I agree with you on this fight, right? I mean, I see Vitor Petrino winning this. I think it's late in Anthony Smith's career. He's not the same guy. He's taken a ton of damage. He is starting to look a little bit fucking crazy and delusional. He's talking about getting a title shot versus Poatan and how he thinks like it's a good matchup for him. And then, you know, Anthony Smith has always been that guy. He can never accept a loss. He's, you know, he always thinks he's the best fighter in the world, which is fine. You should totally have that if you are one of the best fighters in the world. I don't blame you. But it's just like you're delusional. Like it just is what it is, dude. You're not the best fighter in the world. You definitely no longer are the best fighter in the world. And Alex Pereira would beat the living fuck out of you and knock you out in a minute and a half. So, look, I don't love Vitor Petrino. I think he's a pretty fraudulent, undefeated guy. I think the kid's good. I think he's going to have a great career. I just don't think that, you know, he is like the future of the division or anything. So I'm taking Vitor Petrino late round knockout. I would love to have seen like a prime Anthony Smith fight this kid because I think that fight goes very differently. But for now, I'm taking Petrino late second round KO. I'd really like to move on from Anthony Smith. I used to love the guy, and he's starting to bother me. I think he should take that job at the desk. He's like pretty good at it, even though sometimes he's standoffish. Do that, and let's move the fuck on.
Yep, and I just realized we're over an hour already on this shit, so let's wrap it up here soon. I'm just yapping. I apologize. Anyway, co-main event, Jonathan Martinez versus Jose Aldo, making his little return after he said he was retired. Dino Bam Bam, give us the breakdown on this one.
Yeah, it's gonna be sick as fuck when Jose Aldo walks out. The crowd's gonna be absolutely fucking lit. But he's taking on.
He was put on this card to save this card, basically.
That's exactly what it was, right?
They're like, we need like a buffer after UFC 300. The next people like we gotta like have something a little bit like spicy.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this is. Let's start with the opponent, the number 12 ranked Jonathan Martinez. Man, he's a fun, exciting striker, good jiu-jitsu player as well. Awesome kick game. He got a leg kick finish his last time out, which is ironic because he's fighting Jose Aldo, who's known to be like arguably the greatest leg kicker of all time in MMA. Sorry. I think Jonathan Martinez at like 30, 31 years old is a very high level, underrated prospect. Again, a guy without the huge name value, but I would love to see a fight. Like if he were to win this fight, I would not hate a him versus Cheeto Vera kind of thing, right? Like,
absolutely.
I think that's an awesome matchup. I think it's a very winnable matchup for Jonathan Martinez. He's taken on the king of Rio, Jose Aldo, the greatest featherweight of all time, arguably. Depends on, where you put Alexander Volkanovski in that conversation. The Hall of Famer. He's coming out of retirement, the king of Rio, back in Rio. Look, Jose Aldo, what needs to be said about him, right? If you know anything about MMA, you know that this is one of the GOATs. This is a Mount Rushmore guy. There is not a single thing that he does badly. There is not a single thing that he doesn't excel at in the MMA world. He is very damn good to as perfect as it can get in every aspect of MMA at his fucking prime. The thing is, he's coming out of retirement, right? He's old and he's coming out of retirement. He's damn near 40 years old. 2 years on the bench after losing a fight, which I know upset him with Merab Dvalishvili. The way that fight played out with his back against the cage must have been really damn frustrating. Look, the age and the time on the shelf are the question mark. Again, I hate saying this, but prime Jose Aldo dispatches of Jonathan Martinez. Like, absolutely outclasses and dispatches of him. I like Jonathan Martinez too, man. Nice guy. We met him in Vegas. He was a cool dude. I think Jonathan Martinez wins this fight, but in my heart, I'll be pulling for Jose Aldo. The scenes would be fucking bananas if Jose Aldo gets like a knockout finish. That stadium is fucking erupting.
That would be nuts, man. That would be nuts. I would love to see it. I love Jose Aldo. How can you not? If you're somebody who just loves the sport, unproblematic, unless you're just a Connor fucking stan. Like, I get it. But even then, you got to give the man his respect. I kind of wish he didn't retire when he did, to be quite honest with you. I thought he had a little bit more in the tank. Now he's been doing boxing in Brazil and shit like that. You pretty much broke it down. There's not a lot I have to add to that. But listen, this is the old leg kick king versus the new leg kick king. You said Jonathan Martinez had a finish versus Adrian Yanez in his last fight by leg kicks. Don't forget, he also finished Cub Swanson that same way.
Yeah.
So, and that was just 2 fights ago. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a problem, man. I think it's just going to be a problem for Jose Aldo. It's a really high-level opponent. And like you said, goes without saying, but Jose Aldo, like you said, dispatches of Jonathan Martinez in his prime, and it's not close. But, yeah, I just think, I can't trust Jose Aldo even as one of the GOATs. Rob Font last time out was landing some good shots on him. Now, 2 years later, another dangerous young opponent. I think it's going to be a good fight. But I got to go with Jonathan Martinez. For what it's worth, on Tapology, it's 50-50, dead ass even.
Yeah, and I get that, right? You that's how you expect it to be. Like that.
Yeah.
When you have a guy with the name value of Jose Aldo, even though there is like the only reason it's 50-50 and not 80-20 in Jose Aldo's favor is because of the age and the layoff, right? So if this was a year ago, 2 years ago, I think Jose Aldo on Tapology at least is like a huge favorite. And I think even in Vegas, he would be the favorite and there'd be good money to be made on Jonathan Martinez at that point. Not that there isn't right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree with you. And here we are. We're finally at the main event. Of course, I'm talking about Alexandre Pantoja taking on number 10 ranked, interesting, Steve Erceg. The odds, -250 for Pantoja at the time of this video, +200 for Steve Erceg. I'm okay with these odds. I think they actually do make a lot of sense. It literally wasn't that long ago. We were talking about Steve Erceg as somebody. Listen, even on the tape, when we watched tape on him in his fight versus, who was it, David Dvorak originally, I want to say.
Yeah, that was first UFC. Yep.
Right? And I remember me and you both were like, dude, this guy looks pretty damn legit. He was kind of talked about as more of a grappler and like a submission guy than anything. But then, to me, the striking actually looked pretty damn crisp and has continued to improve since then too. So Steve Erceg, he's got a lot of power, man. He's got good power. He's decently technical in the striking. He's got pretty good takedown defense too. He has a 77% rate takedown defense. He's really good. He's really good all around. I just think it's a little bit too much too soon. Alexandre Pantoja, look at who he's cleared out, right? He's cleared out the division, a lot of them 2 or 3 times. So For the simple, first of all, again, I commend Alexandre Pantoja for continuing to defend his belt and continuing to be probably the most active champion at this point, right? That we have on the active roster. In a time when you see guys like Leon Edwards and Drickus, right, and John Jones, obviously, out for different reasons, but they're still out, right? So, and Islam, where's Islam been, right? So, yeah, I commend him for continuing to take on all comers. Obviously, there's a path for Erceg to win this. I think if Pantoja underestimates him, he certainly is very live here, and he's dangerous everywhere, right? He's got good power, but man, Alexandre Pantoja, he's been to absolute wars, right, with the absolute best of the best in the best promotion in the world, and cleared him out several times. And if he takes your back, it's goddamn over, right? And as good as Erceg is on the ground, Pantoja is just better, right? Maybe Erceg has more pure power, but he's also pretty hittable, man. And we've seen him stumble too. So as much as I really do like Steve Erceg, I think he'll be a top 5 to 7 flyweight in the world for the next 5-10 years, right? I think he'll stick around at the top of this division for a long time. I just can't pick him, man. I think it's going to be a tough fight. I think it's a very real possibility that it goes to a decision. But I just think eventually Alexandre Pantoja is going to catch him and end up taking his back and end up getting the submission. I'm going to say in like the early 4th round.
Okay, fair. I just want to throw a couple things in. So Erceg, as we mentioned at the beginning of this long ass episode at this point, Steve Erceg getting a little bit of what's like, you can consider a lucky title shot, right? We had, Makayev with a boring ass performance, Amir Albazi with the injury, Manel Kopp pulling out with injury, Brandon Moreno, of course, coming off of 2 losses at this point. Royval just lost to Alexandre Pantoja. Nicolau was coming off of a loss, and he just got knocked out. So it's like a weird-ass situation, and we just found number 10 Steve Erceg getting himself a title shot, man. And you can't really blame the UFC, right? I guess at that point, he's the right guy to get the title shot. And I think there's a little bit of the whole, we just lost Alexander Volkanovski in Australia. It's an important market for us. We do need somebody to be champion there, especially because Izzy's not even holding a belt anymore. So that region of the world really not represented with champions at this time. So, he gets the title shot, and I get it. Is it a UFC pay-per-view main event quality, fight with name value? No, it's not, but it doesn't mean it's not an interesting ass fight. Pantoja, Dino, as you mentioned, truly like to the word, he's a mixed martial artist, man. He's known for having a well-rounded fighting style, background in jiu-jitsu, a solid enough wrestler, a great submission game. His striking is awesome, man, particularly his boxing. He's super damn crisp with that. Good combinations, good footwork. There's nothing to hate about Alexandre Pantoja's game. He's known to be really aggressive, right? Like that's when he's fighting at his best, is when he can be the aggressor. One thing that's a little weird to me is his cardio. I don't know. I don't think it's bad cardio, but it does seem a little sus, right? Like we saw him live at UFC 290, and you'll see it in all his fights that kind of go deep. He seems to take like spurts, times off. It's not necessarily whole rounds, but it's 3-4 minutes of just like, let me chill the fuck out, gather myself, because I don't want to gas in this fight. He's also really damn durable for what that's worth. He's taking on Steve Erceg, a.k.a. Steve Carell, a.k.a. Astro Boy, probably the most random dude to get a UFC title shot in like years. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Look, he's a grappler. Like you said, he's super slick. He's quick with snatching up subs and shit. On the feet, he's solid. He is long-bodied. He has a good jab. I like his wide-ass stance. He can stay pretty safe when he wants to. Last time out against Matt Schnell, he didn't feel the need to stay safe. He went in there and, balls to the wall, and he got himself a knockout. I think he's better than I originally thought he was. I think that goes for a lot of people, but I don't necessarily know that, he's top tier in the world right now. If Erceg were to win, Dino, he would be like the most innocent, soft-looking champion I can ever fucking recall. He does have a chance. Yeah, he does have a chance here, bro, but I love me some Pantoja, so I got to choose him. I'm going Alexandre Pantoja. I think he's better everywhere, and to me, his best path here is to wrestle fudge. I think it's to use that Dagestani style. Yes, Erceg is live for a sub at that point, but Pantoja stays really safe when he, with his control. Some people call it boring, and the fight might fucking be boring, but I think he stays safe. And 49-46, Alexandre Pantoja is my pick. And we are done with UFC 291. Hey, 98 more of these, and we get to do UFC 400, bro.
301, 301.
30, what did I say?
291.
I don't know what the fuck I'm fucking, my brain's fried. Yeah, 301, we're done with it. 98 more of these until we get to cover UFC 400.
Fire. Can't wait. All right, wrap it up. Let's get out of here.
All right, guys. So look at that. Thank you for watching. I spelled it right this time. Last week I wrote "than you." So thank you for watching. If you guys enjoyed, do us a favor. Do what it says at the bottom there. Please like and subscribe. You can also go ahead and follow us on Instagram and the TikTok, where they're at the107MMA, the same way it's spelled on this very channel here. Guys, this was UFC 301. Next week, UFC St. Louis, Derek Lewis versus Nascimento. Our boy T-Rex on that card, our boy Energy on that card. Dino, I'd like to go. I'd like to go. So we've been talking about it. We'll try to figure some shit out. We may not. But if you guys enjoyed, do all that shit. Anything else, DS?
No.
All right, guys, he's DS. I'm Dino Bam Bam. We're the 107 MMA. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.